Hi everybody, and welcome to A Book for the Nook. In this episode of A Book for the Nook, I want to introduce you to Thinking Fast and Slow from Daniel Kahneman, which was first published in 2001. I'm Norbert Ulmer from Grow3X, and we specialize in designing memorable experiences, and Thinking Fast and Slow can pretty much be considered our Bible and operating manual that lays the foundation for everything we do. Daniel Kahneman is a psychologist and an economist who is best known for his work on judgment and decision-making under uncertainty. He, along with his longtime research partner and friend Amos Tversky, is considered as one of the founding fathers of behavioral economics. Behavioral economics is a relatively new science and tries to blend ideas from classical economics with psychology. It has gained popularity only in the last 20 years, and Thinking Fast and Slow, with its universal framework of how people think and make decisions, can probably be considered to have triggered its breakthrough. Classical economics assumes an ideal situation in which we, as consumers, always know exactly what we want. We are fully informed about our options and alternatives. We are self-disciplined. We resist impulsive temptations and can make rational and objective decisions that are best for us and our long-term goals. On the other hand, behavioral economics disagrees with this rigid, idealistic description of how we supposedly think, decide, and act. Why is this? It is for the simple fact that nothing in life is ever 100% perfect, and that we are always dealing with imperfections, limitations, and shortcomings. We don't always know exactly what we want. We are impulsive, lazy, and certainly don't like complexity. And when it comes to self-discipline, well, we are not. Just look at the gazillion of New Year's resolutions every year in January and for how long that they really last. So, what behavioral economics says is that we make the majority of our judgments and decisions based on intuitive, simplifying rules of thumb, which Kahneman calls heuristics. We also ignore most of the relevant statistical data, as it is usually way too much effort to generate, analyze, and to understand. Relying on these heuristics leads to biases and systematic errors that we unfortunately have become quite used to, and given the circumstances, actually feel pretty comfortable with. The goal of behavioral economics is to make us aware of these heuristics, biases, and systematic errors, and to provide tools that have the power to nudge ourselves and others into better decision-making that doesn't patronize, feels good with our intuitions, and is better for us in the long run. So, some of the main concepts that are being presented in Thinking Fast and Slow are judgment and decision-making under uncertainty, prospect theory, and the PeakEnd Rule. All of these concepts are tremendously interesting when it comes to explaining and predicting human and consumer behavior. As a marketing professional, obtaining a basic understanding in behavioral economics and the concepts introduced in Thinking Fast and Slow will provide you with a set of tools that will catapult your product offerings and your customer experience designs light years ahead of your competition. For this reason, I have decided to break up my review of Thinking Fast and Slow into multiple A Book for the Nook episodes. I believe that this is the only way to do justice to Daniel Kahneman's profound work and to provide you with the most valuable, useful nuggets for your own marketing activities. Since our work at Grow3X focuses especially on designing memorable experiences, I want to start with the PeakEnd Rule. The PeakEnd Rule states that our memories of events and experiences, both good or bad, depend entirely on their peak and the end. Many of us marketing folks want to engage with our audience in a way that allows for creating lasting impressions that build long-term customer relationships. It is therefore critical to understand how to make moments count and how to make experiences memorable. So, how can we do this? Daniel Kahneman differentiates between the experience of a moment in time and how we remember an experienced moment of time. He calls this differentiation the experiencing self and the remembering self, and he has found that it is only the remembering self that determines whether or not we are going to repeat an experience in the future. For instance, whether we go back to a restaurant after our first visit, schedule our next annual dental checkup with the same dental office we went to last time, or set another case to the same dental lab. Daniel Kahneman also discovered that the remembering self completely neglects the duration of time. In fact, and this is where it gets really crazy, he has even found that particularly bad experiences are better remembered if they're being extended so that they don't have to end at their worst time. He gives the example of colonoscopy, where research has shown that if it is done as efficiently as medically necessary, then the procedure ends right at the moment when the patient experiences the maximum discomfort. If the procedure is, however, extended for no other reason than to allow for the pain to go down from its maximum peak before it's being ended, then the entire procedure is experienced and remembered as much less painful, even though the total amount of time that the patient was exposed to pain was actually much longer. This is because the remembering self doesn't remember experiences as a linear film or movie, but more in terms of meaningful and relevant snapshots of peaks and the end. So I wanted to apply these findings to a practical example and look at, let's say, the customer satisfaction evaluation of a product experience or the customer journey in your dental lab or dental office or any other business. So let's say we have dental lab A and dental lab B, and we're evaluating 5 aspects. This could be shipping and receiving, communication with the office, managing expectations, sticking to turnaround time, adjustments or seating time, and so on. As we are collecting the customer satisfaction scores, we find that laboratory A has actually a well above average and higher overall score than laboratory B. And so the most logical conclusion should be that laboratory A is better perceived by the dentist than lab B. However, if we are looking at the scores with a PeakEnd Rule in mind, then we notice that laboratory A has a lower peak and essentially no emphasis on the end at all. It offers much less opportunity for our remembering self to capture any memorable snapshots to refer to when making repurchase decisions in the future. Chances are that their dentists will only continue sending cases until a better, which means a more memorable lab comes along. And this might just as well be laboratory B, as B has a stronger peak and end score than laboratory A. As an important takeaway from all this, please keep in mind that if a dentist switches from lab A to lab B, this does not mean that they are necessarily dissatisfied with lab A. It simply means that they have no memorable connection to lab A. Knowing the PeakEnd Rule will hopefully enable you to design your customer experiences more memorably, spending your resources more effectively, and creating stronger and more intimate customer relationships for the long term. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Book for the Nook, and if you find the information about the PeakEnd Rule helpful, then please pass it on to one of your friends or colleagues so that they can benefit from this as well. I also want to invite you to join us for one of our future episodes of A Book for the Nook, where we'll be covering more topics from thinking fast and slow as they relate to designing memorable experiences. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.